Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to create this full cut crease Earth Day look. Let's get started. Alright, so I already went in and I did my eyebrows. So if you guys would like a tutorial on that later on, just let me know and I will make a separate one for you. So I already went in with my concealer and my setting powder on my eyelids. I use the Tarte Shape Tape, and that is in Fair Neutral, and I set it with the Revolution Luxury Baking Powder in Ghost. This is my favorite combination, honestly, better than using an eyeshadow primer. It definitely is a longer hold and it's easier to blend for me. I don't know about anyone else, but I've tried a lot of different combinations of stuff and this is definitely the best in my opinion. So as you can see on the top here, I didn't really, do anything too crazy, but I did flick the Shape Tape up a little bit, so that way later on when I go into, doing my foundation and everything on my forehead, the color blends and I don't have to go anywhere near my eyebrows. I don't want to mess up the shape because, all of us girls take forever doing our eyebrows, so I don't want to have to even attempt to go near them, and this helps that. So I basically just, flick it up a little bit. You don't really have to worry about the line. It doesn't really matter if it's harsh or not, because like I said, it will, blend in with the rest of your foundation. And I also don't set this, so although I set my lids, I don't set this, because you don't want to put the liquid over the powder. That's just going to give you issues. And it's not gonna, like I said, matter really later if, this starts creasing and stuff, because you're gonna go over it with your foundation and your beauty blender. You just wanna make sure that, like, you have enough room there to not touch the eyebrow. It's just gonna make your life easier. So now, to do a full cut crease, you are going to want to basically know where this part of your eyelid, the very bottom of it, hits when you open up your eye fully, so that way you don't have any transfer all the way up here. A lot of people make that mistake. That comes with practice when cutting your crease a lot. For me, I do know where mine kind of, cuts, and it just happens to be a little bit above my fold. So you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna put your darkest shade right where yours starts. So for me, that is right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so as you can see, I did go in with a dark green, and I put a little black on top of it because I did want it to be a little bit darker than the green I used. And I did it in the shape that I wanted to and avoided going in this area because that's the area I'm gonna cut. This is using the James Charles Morphe palette, and I did use the darker shade of green and the black once again, and I usually use the same brushes the whole time I'm doing this. So I either use my Morphe Jaclyn Hill brushes. They look like this. They're always the same shape. This one happens to be the JH39, and I know I have another one that is the same shape, just a little bit bigger. I also use this MAC brush. The numbers are kind of worn out. I think it says 219S or 2193. I think it's S. But don't hold me to that because, like I said, they are worn out. But this is what it looks like if you were interested in going to get a brush that would help you to accomplish this look. Short and just like that. You can really get any brush that looks like that. Something tight enough to get in there but fluffy enough to also use to blend at the same time is going to be ideal. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back in with the dark green to start, moving further up. As you can see, I followed the same shape and I went up with that dark green just a little further. And the whole time I just use the same motions, so just pretty much rubbing like back and forth and make sure it's evenly distributed from this corner to this corner because sometimes it does come out darker over here, so you have to dip back in and then, you know, start over in this corner to even it out. So I am going to now try to go into the lighter shade of green, and don't be afraid if you have to go back and re-darken this bottom part up. I will show you that I end up doing that regardless, so don't panic. So this is what it looks like when you add the lighter shade of green. It is starting to come together and look like it's gradually getting lighter from, you know, here to here. I do want to darken up the bottom again because I want that blend to be as perfect as possible, because remember, blendy blendy is your friendy, and that was taught to me by my makeup teacher at Robert Fion's. So yeah, I'm gonna go back in and I am gonna darken up this and I'm gonna blend it up again. Like I said, don't panic, you're always gonna have to do that, and even if you go too dark, you can always tone it back down. A little secret she also taught me was using setting powder and going over your eyeshadow to lighten that back up. So like I said, if you go too light, if you go too dark, it's not an issue. I'm gonna show you, since I went, you know, a little lighter than I would have liked, how I am going to darken it back up. So basically all I'm doing is I took the darker color and I am just going over that bottom part to darken it up. And as you can see, it still has that, you know, blend that I would like, and now it is darker and deeper towards the bottom, which is gonna look really nice the darker it is when you do cut the crease, because it's going to be such a nice like light to dark contrast, and that's exactly what we want to make it look super sharp. So I am gonna go back in to the black, and like I said, I don't change brushes this whole time, so you want to use like everything that you put on your brush. I just dipped it in black. I'm gonna use this until there's no more black coming off the brush, and that's how I go into the lighter shades without, you know, spreading it all up my eye. For me, this works the best. This, like I said, this brush is great for cut creases, and it's great for every part of the cut crease, so I don't want to, you know, it's more of a hassle also to switch back and forth between brushes. This is just the easiest way for me, at least. I don't know about you guys. I do have quite a few brushes I can do that with, but like I said, this is how I do it. And bear with me because I do have a mirror behind this, so I'm trying to look in the mirror and look at you guys at the same time. This is my first video. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna darken it back up with the black right at the bottom there. It's like I said, the contrast, it looks so good when you cut the crease and it is super dark down here, and then where the crease is cut, it is light. It creates that sharpness, and I love that look. So it's dark, super dark, and I'm gonna go back in because I am not the biggest fan of, you know, just having blobs of black, and I'm gonna actually cover that with the dark green in the James Charles palette. Once again, all these colors are from the James Charles palette. I usually do most of my looks with it. And I don't usually go into a different palette once I pick one up. The colors are really made to work with each other. You can intermix, it's not a rule, but I just find that the formulas that they're made with are meant to mix with each other, so they do end up blending together better than you using, you know, the James Charles palette and then dipping into an Anastasia palette. It's just, they're two different formulas. They're made to work together, all the colors. So that's my opinion. Like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't work out. It definitely could. For me, I just like to keep it this way. As an esthetician, I was always, taught to not, use two different product lines because the formulas are made to work with each other. And as that is with, facial products, that usually is the rule of thumb with the makeup palettes. They are formulated for each other. So they do work the best like this. I'm gonna go back in and overlap slightly with that light green just to create that nice blend again. And if you're ever, worried about that line, it, is not blended enough for you, like I said, do try the trick. I will show you it. I do it every time I create a cut crease. So basically, I just literally dip my brush straight up into the bottle. I tap it off in the cap. I want all the excess to land in the cap because I do go back and I use it. And it does start to turn green, so I don't really want to tap it back into the bottle per se. So basically gonna go in, make sure most of it's tapped off. If you have to tap it off on your hand to get a little more off, you don't want too much on there because then you're just gonna, wipe the whole thing out. You don't want to do that. You just want to have enough to go in there and smooth all of this out. It almost creates, I want to say, like a blur effect in a way. And we all know using, Facetune and whatever app you use, when you blur your face, everything looks more smooth. So basically, without using an app to do that, we're doing that to our eyeshadow using our setting powder. It creates the same exact effect. As you can see, I don't know if you could tell the difference from before and now, but it is starting to blend better now that it was lightened up with the setting powder. And I'm just going back in with that lighter green once again. And then I'm gonna go back in again with the darker green. Like I said, I'm not really wiping my brush. I'm just going in and I'm using what's on it. It's gonna take a little bit to get the blend that you really want. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of patience. So don't be discouraged if you don't get it. Really seriously, I was, beginning this video and I was afraid that I basically was gonna do the same thing. I would finish this and then I would hate it and this video would all, be for nothing basically. So, like I said, don't be afraid. You're gonna do it and do it over and over and over until you like it. And that's really all there is to it. So practice makes perfect, just remember that. Okay, so now that I have it blended to where I want it to be blended, I did go back over it one more time with the setting powder on the brush that I dipped in before. I didn't add any more to the brush. It was just the leftover on the brush I went back in with and I just sweeped over it. So like I said, give you more of a blurred effect in person rather than doing it with an app. So now that that's all set, I am going to start cutting my crease. I do use, once again, the Shape Tape. This stuff is like my saving grace, honestly. I not only use it, as a base, like I said before, but I do also use it for cutting my crease. I do it to cut my brows out. I cover up, which I already had done, my cystic acne with it. So I do that under my foundation. It is sticky, so it stays. And that's something that I really like about this stuff, is that usually when, you have cystic acne and you pop it, it scabs up after, and it's really hard to cover up a scab. I have used a lot of different concealers to try to cover it up. And I used to say all the time, I don't know how these girls do this makeup, I can't even cover up a pimple. Well, I didn't realize how simple it was, to be honest. A lot of these girls use color correctors, and that's fine. You definitely can. I have before, and I have even under this. But to be honest, this stuff is so good, you don't even need to. You know, you just drop a little dot and you just pat, and that's it. And it really does, you know, do the best cover up job. So with that being said, I am going to cut my crease with my Shape Tape. So I'm putting a little bit on a brush that looks like this, that has this shape. This one is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill brush. It's JH41. So this is what I use to, or one of the brushes I use to cut my crease. And the secret to this that I didn't know for a really long time is that if you just simply take the brush and you wipe all of this concealer on the very bottom of your eyelid, and you look up, and you're gonna look funny doing it. I know, I probably look like scary, but you just roll it around. It creates an imprint of how high, you know, you should be cutting your crease. And mine is very high. Be careful, don't do what I just did, and forget to wipe your eyelashes off before you open up your eye, because if you do, that's what happens. But off camera, I'm gonna go in and fix that, and I'm also going to follow this line and fill it in. But like I said, do that and use that as a guide, because if you don't and you cut it too short, you're gonna open up your eye, and this is gonna happen anyway. So even though it looks super high, this is what works for your eye. Everyone has a different eye. Unfortunately, mine do fold, and that's why, you know, it does have to be further up anyway, but that's also where my eye opens, and that's where it transfers. So that's where I'm gonna create my cut crease, and that's where you should create yours too. All right, so now that I cut it out, we are here. So basically, I just created for myself, using that shape I was talking about earlier, the path for me to cut out the rest of this. So I'm going to go ahead and continue along the bottom of this dark line. And like I did say before, I fixed up here where my eyelashes hit. Don't panic if that happens to you. You could just use your brush that you were using before. And like I said, if you were listening to what I said, you use the color until there's no more. So basically when I went back in, all it was doing was really like just buffing and blending out those few little dots that I got on top, and no color was really coming off of, you know, the brush, because there shouldn't have been any left. So that's what I did. So I'm just, like I said, gonna go finish that cut. All right, so I went ahead and I finished cutting it out. So when I opened my eye before, you guys saw how it kind of stopped the imprint like right about here. So it only imprinted over on this side. You kind of have to figure out this side when your eye opens. It doesn't always imprint like high enough to create this right here above my folds, how it's all like equal. So you kind of have to open up your eye and basically measure that, like just eyeball it, to make it even. So then the rest of this, I just, you know, cut out where I made that original line with my eyeshadow in the first place. Watch out when you're doing this, because for instance, me, I have two different eye imprints when I open up like that. My trick I showed you, this eye imprints higher when I open up than this eye. So if you don't start with the eye that imprints higher, and everyone's eyes are different, 9 times out of 10, one eye is going to imprint higher than the other. So if that is also you, make sure you start with the eye that does imprint higher, because you can always imprint this eye and then make it a little higher. When you do it the opposite way around, which I have done time and time and time again, and I've already set this eye, it's much harder to go back and raise this when you've already set it, because you don't want too many layers of powder and liquid and then powder and liquid, because it starts getting messy. I'm sure you have experienced it with yourself. You've done it, you know, may not be cutting your crease, but, you know, layering your makeup. Sometimes things get messy when you have too many layers going on. So make sure you start with the eye that imprints higher, because you don't want to have to go back over your set eye with more liquid being your concealer and have to raise your cut more. It's going to cause a mess. So this is my eye, this is the higher eye. I did this one first, and don't worry about if it's light in here. Like mine is a little light right there, color-wise. I'm gonna go back in with a smaller detailed brush later on, and I'll show you how I darken that up to create that sharp cut that I was talking about earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this eye off camera. It is Earth Day, so I am gonna do 2 different colors, so don't be alarmed. Okay, so I did go and finish. So, like I said, I did 2 different colors because it's Earth Day. And also just because I really like dual toned eyeshadow. I don't know why. I just really do. I love the contrast between the two. Also, blue and green are like the 2 colors that kind of like make my eyes pop. So it's pretty cool to have an excuse to do both different colors and the 2 colors that do make my eyes pop. So I'm gonna go back in with the darker shade of green, and I'm just not only gonna kind of like fix the blend, but I'm gonna line where this cut crease is with the green. So as you can see, it is getting better. I'm gonna go back in with some more. Just remember to tap it. You don't want any excess kind of falling into your eyelid, just because when you get pieces of eyeshadow like onto your eyelid, yeah, it's already set, so it's gonna be easier to get it off, but it's just a pain. You can avoid it. So just try to remember to tap before you go back in. It's gonna make your life a lot easier. So this is just really for like closest to the cut. You don't want to be super tedious with this brush. Like, you don't want to use this to continue to kind of like go up, because you can go in with a bigger brush and do that. So this is just to line. Don't go crazy with this brush. Use a different brush. Don't give yourself a headache over it. So I'm gonna go in up here, and I'm gonna start, you know, it's gonna create this like shadow, like your eye is literally casting a shadow. So right here, obviously it doesn't look like it, but all here it does. So I'm gonna continue doing that. You're gonna have to play around, honestly, with like a comfortable position to hold the brush while you're doing this, because it does get a little uncomfortable. And for people like me who have shaky hands, it's best to be comfortable. So usually when I'm like not recording, I'll lean my elbow on my actual desk and I get really close up and I do this in the mirror. But because I am showing you guys what I'm doing, I'm not doing that. But it does make your life a lot easier. But see, now it looks like my whole eye is like giving off a shadow, which is what we want. See that? All right. Now just go up a little higher, just to blend it. Just a little higher, not too crazy. Like I said, you don't, have to do that with such a small brush, like go up super high, because there are bigger brushes, but just because where my eye imprinted this part right here is so thin, I do continue with this brush going a little higher in this area just to blend that out. But see, it already looks better. Then, if you really want to, you can take, one of these brushes again. You're gonna go back in with that darker color, tap it out. And now, just use that to blend it. The line you just created. See how, I did a lot of work with that little brush, but I finished it off with the bigger brush. You don't have to do all of that shading with such a little brush, but you do want to use the little brush for the closer detail, because this brush is too fluffy and would start going into here, and you don't want to really get anything in here now that you cut it. It would just, set you back. So I really feel like that is pretty bomb. That's pretty blended. This side needs a little work, so I'm going to take the same brush. This time I am gonna wipe it off a little bit, just onto a towel or whatever you wipe your makeup brushes off with in between colors. Just because I did use such a dark green, even though I probably pressed all of it onto my eye, there might still be a little bit of residue on here. So I am going to go and I'm going to do the same thing I did on this eye onto this side now. Okay, so I did finish up this side, but I also added more black to this side as well, and I blended up to make more of an ombre effect. I think it came out really good. I probably will still play a little more with this side as we go on. The green looks awesome. So now it is time to fill the lids. I am going to try the VIP color from the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. I'm not sure how it's gonna come out, to be honest, so I'm going to just try that first, and if not, then I have to redo it, but let's see how this comes out first. So this is what it looks like. It was very pigmented. I am like super shocked. Usually whites are not pigmented, so I just wanted to show you this again. This is VIP, and it's in the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. I highly recommend if you're looking for like an iridescent white. I also did put a little bit of my glitter on top of it, and these more reflect like like rainbow almost, or like green, blue, purple. Like they don't really shine white necessarily, so it gives it a nice pop, like in person, you know, up close. But the white is definitely a look. I was going to do like green on this one and then blue on this one, but I needed to add some white because Earth Day. So we got white. This is the look. I'm not mad at it. So now we are going to put some eyeliner on the bottom just to alleviate the gap between the fake eyelashes and my real eyelashes. And then I'm going to put on mascara. That will also help that. And my eyelashes are blonde, as you can see. So a lot of you don't have to even put on mascara. That is not the case for me. And then I have to conceal here so I can then finish off the drop shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is finished with the eyeliner. I was saying the eyelashes, and I did conceal underneath my eyes. That is going to give the illusion that you actually do sleep at night, and it will get rid of your eye bags. Once again, I really highly recommend the Shape Tape. I have just not seen a better product, to be honest with you. It just amazes me, honestly. I've never had something cover up my bags so well, and it stays. Like, I mean, we all have those lines underneath our eyes, the fine wrinkles, and I have to say it definitely stays away the longest when I use this. So once again, if you don't have it, this is not sponsored. Tarte doesn't give me anything for saying this. This is just truly what I believe. So if you don't have this, you should try it. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to do the underneath of my eyes with the drop shadow now. Alright guys, so the drop shadow is done. It really pulls everything together, and pretty much just don't give up in the middle of doing your look, because if you do, you won't get to this, because as you can see from beginning to end, this look has drastically changed. And there's gonna be things when you're going along, you're gonna be like, oh, I gotta fix this and I gotta fix that. And you know, sometimes after I'm done with my whole look, I realize my eyebrow is off, you know. It happens. So don't be discouraged because you're not 100% when you first start it. You never will be. Trust the process. It is going to look weird in the beginning. So pretty much all I have left to do is finishing my face. If you want a tutorial on how to get from here to my, you know, finished face, just let me know in the comments below. I'm not gonna do that for you in this video today. This was all about the full cut crease. So like I said, let me know in the comments below if you would like a full tutorial on how to get my complexion. So I'm going to finish this behind the scenes and we will see the finished look. Alright guys, this is the finished look. I really hope you like it. I did want to say a few things before I go. If you did watch this video all the way through, thank you so much. This is my first tutorial video on YouTube. I do have other platforms. I have TikTok and I have Instagram, and I'll leave that information below. If you did really enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me so you can see all my future videos. And if you have any suggestions, please leave them below. Thank you for watching.